Okay, so the next thing we're doing is the law of cosines. Now, we use the law of sines to use AAS, ASA, and SSA. However, if if you're given a side, the included angle on the side, or side, 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 you have to use the law of cosines. Now, why can't you use law of sines? Well, remember, for law of sines, you need an angle across from a side to create that ratio. Look what I have here. I have an angle, but I do not know the side that's across from it. So you can't use law of sines here. And also, if you have side, 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 you obviously don't have any angle, so you can't create those ratios. So we have to use law of cosines, and the law of cosines is this formula. Now, there's three separate formulas here, but they're the same thing. You just have to know the general form of it. If you're looking for a side, if the side squared is equal to the sum of the other two sides minus 2 times the other two sides cosine of the angle of the side you're looking for. Okay, so you kind of just get the gist of how this looks like. You have to memorize this for the test, but just know that it's going to be one side squared. Then in here, everything is involved with all the other sides. The only thing is the cosine goes to the angle is the angle of the side you're looking for. So look at example 1. You have this triangle. They gave you 2, 3, and they gave you the 60. Side angle side. If you just look at this triangle, and let's say you forget what you needed to use, law of sines or law of cosines. Think, can I use law of sines? Well, I would have sine of 60 over c is equal to sine of b over 3. You're missing two things there, so you can't use law of sines. What you have to do is you have to use the law of cosines. So let's try to find side c. Since they gave us 2 and 3, it will be easy to find c. So we're going to go ahead and use the formula c squared is equal to a squared plus b squared minus 2ab cosine c. So now all we do is we just plug the numbers in. C squared is equal to a squared, which is 2 squared, plus 3 squared, minus 2 times 2 times 3 cosine 60. Okay? And if you just plug this all into your calculator, you get 4 plus 9 minus 12 cosine 60. Okay. And you get, if you plug this all into your calculator, you get c squared is equal to 7. Please check that that's true. Yeah, I get 7. And so you just square root both sides, and c is equal to the square root of 7. Now, I know c here. Now, if I know c, you're like, can I use the law of sines? You actually can, at this point, to find the other missing information, you could use either the law of sines or the law of cosines. However, it's preferred here that you use the law of cosines so that you don't get into that ambiguous case with the law of sines. Okay, because you just don't want to deal with two separate solutions. So right here, what we're going to do is we're going to use the law of cosines again to try to find angle A and angle B. Okay, so now if you just follow the formula here, you're looking for one of these missing angles. So it doesn't really matter which one you use, just make sure you use one that has the angle A or angle B. So I'm going to go ahead and choose the a squared one. So I have a squared is equal to b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cosine A. Okay, if we plug all this information in, Actually, I think what would be easier for you guys to do is you're looking for a. So what we're going to do is we are actually going to solve this equation for a. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this positive. I'm going to bring it to the other side. So I'm going to have 2bc cosine a. I'm going to bring everything else to the other side. So this is b squared plus c squared minus a squared. And then I divide everything by 2bc. And so cosine a, sorry for the shadows, cosine a is equal to b squared plus c squared minus a squared over 2bc. And so this is 9 plus 7 minus 4 over 2 times 3 root 7. And if we put this into a calculator, or actually, why don't we simplify it all the way so it's easier to put in a calculator. I get this is 12 over 6 root 7. So I have cosine A is equal to 12 over 6 root 7. We don't need to rationalize it because we're going to find the inverse cosine anyway. So A is equal to the inverse cosine of 12 over 6 root 7. And so if I do that on the calculator, I get around 40.9. Now, make sure if you enter into your calculator, you don't put the 6 and the root 7 by each other. Remember, you have to put the 6 divided by root 7. So the inverse cosine of that is around 40.9. And so now we have angle A. If we have angle C as 60, angle C is 60, angle A is 40.9. We can just find angle B because the angles of a triangle add up to 180. So angle B is about 79.1. Okay. And we found everything that we need. So I want you to try the DIY on your own. And then I'll go ahead and solve it so you can see. So you could pause the video now and try solving this one on your own. Okay, so here's how we solve the DIY. You're given A, C, 45. You're given two sides, so now you're missing side B. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the formula B squared. So I have room, I'm going to put it here. B squared is equal to A squared, which is 2 squared, plus C squared, which is 4 squared, minus 2 times 2 times 4 cosine 45. Okay, so now if we want to solve for B squared is equal to 4 plus 16 minus 16 cosine 45. And so let's go ahead and do this. 4 plus 16 minus 16 cosine 45. Gives me B squared is around 8.68 and change. So here's what I do on my calculator. Okay. And then so I just square root my answer. and I get b is around 2.95. Okay. So all I did was I just square root both sides here. Okay, now that I have b, I can go ahead and find either angle C or angle A by using the law of cosines again. So if, let's say, I want to find angle A, I'm just going to go ahead and do a squared is equal to b squared, which is 2.95 squared, plus c squared, which is 4 squared, minus 2 times 2.95 times 4 cosine A. So remember, all this is just substitution now. Oh, and actually we know what a squared. A is 2. Okay. So now if we arrange this looking for cosine A, I get 2 times 2.95 times 4 cosine A is equal to 2.95 squared plus 4 squared minus 2 squared. Now, you guys can skip some steps if you just do the calculations with the moving across. So this is going to be 2 times 2.95 times 4. This is 23.6 cosine A is equal to 2.95 squared plus 4 squared minus 2 squared. And this is about 20.7025. Divide both sides by 23.6. And so cosine A is about 20.7025 divided by 23.6. I just inverse cosine both sides. And so I get angle A is approximately 28.7 degrees. And then to find angle C, if I have B is 45, A is 28.7. Knowing the triangles have to add up to 180. I get the other angle, angle C, is 106.3. Okay. Once again, your answers might be different just based on where you rounded your stuff, but I'll just make sure you show your work, and then I could tell if you did it right or not. Okay. Example 2 is a side-side-side triangle. Now, if we have all three sides, it doesn't matter which of the formulas we use. We are just looking for any angle. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and use the a squared is equal to b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cosine A. And now, if you prefer, you could actually substitute everything here instead of rearranging. So I'll kind of show it that way. I have 4 squared, which is 16. So I'm going to kind of skip steps here. 4 squared is 16. B squared is 9. C squared is 36. Minus 2 times B times C. So that's 2 times 3. That's 6. This is 36 cosine A. So check your math. Okay. And we're going to solve for cosine A. I get 16 is equal to 45 minus 36 cosine A. Subtract 45 from both sides. get negative 29 is equal to negative 36 cosine A. Divide both sides by negative 36. And so cosine A is equal to 29 over 36. I inverse cosine both sides to get A. And so A is about 36.3 degrees. Now, we don't have another angle. So what I have to do is have to go through this process one more time to find a second angle. And from that, I could find a third angle. So I'm going to use B squared is equal to A squared plus C squared minus 2AC cosine B. And so now it's just the same thing that we were doing on the left side. Okay, so I know this is going to be 9, this is going to be 16, this is going to be 36, minus 2AC is 2 times 4 is 8, 8 times 6 is 48, cosine B. So this is, if I just do all the math and algebra in one step, negative 43 is equal to negative 48 cosine B. Divide both sides by negative 48. So cosine B is going to be equal to 43 over 48. I inverse cosine both sides. And B is going to be approximately 26.4 degrees. And now if I have A, now I have B, I can find angle C since they have to add up to 180. So if I do that, angle C is approximately 117.3 degrees. Okay? So that's how you do the law of cosines using side, side, side. So you should try the DIY on your own. Go ahead and pause the video so you can practice. And then unpause it when you're ready. Okay, so if I have a side, side, side triangle, I'm just going to use the law of cosines twice. So it doesn't really matter which angle I'm doing. So I'm going to use the A squared is equal to B squared plus C squared minus 2BC cosine A. So that's pretty simple here. This is 81 is equal to, is that a 6? 36 plus 16 minus 2 times 6 times 4 cosine A. So if I do the math here, 36 plus 16 is 52. I'm going to move that to the other side. So I get 29 is equal to negative 48 cosine A. And then I divide both sides by negative 48. And so cosine A is equal to negative 29 over 48. I inverse cosine that, so A is approximately the inverse cosine of negative 29 over 48. I put that into the calculator. I get A is about 127.2 degrees. And then so I just do the law of cosines again to find either b or c. It doesn't really matter which one I do. So let me do b squared is equal to a squared plus c squared minus 2ac cosine b. So this is pretty straightforward here. This is going to be 36 is equal to 81 plus 16 minus 2 times 9 times 4. Sorry about that, cosine b. I'm going to do the math all in one step. 81 plus 16 is 97, and I'm going to move it to the other side. So this is negative 61 is equal to negative 72 cosine b. Divide both sides by negative 72. And I get cosine b is going to be equal to 61 over 72. I inverse cosine both sides. And if I take the inverse cosine on my calculator, I get this angle B is about 32.1 degrees. And so now I have angle A, I have angle B, just add those up. And I get 159.3. Subtract 180 minus 159.3. And you have angle C is going to be about 20.7 degrees. And that's how you use the law of cosines to find the missing angles and sides of a side-side-side triangle.